There's a problem with America's food system. It's not how much food we make, it's how much we end up throwing away. Pound for pound, more food goes into landfills across the country than any other single source of waste. The more food we throw away, the bigger the problem becomes.
You put food in a landfill, it creates methane gas, which is massively more potent than carbon dioxide in terms of climate change and greenhouse gases.
But more people are realizing all that food waste could be a valuable resource.
I mean, every farmer I work with is just so generous, and they would rather have their food feed people than even feed the chickens or compost it.
If we can just pull that stuff from our industrial sites and our grocery stores and also our school cafeterias, then we can pull that out of the landfill.
They're writing a recipe for change, so the food that's being thrown out doesn't all go to waste.
People are getting on board. People are wanting to know where their food comes from, and at the same point, they're saying, okay, where does it go?
There's more food available in the U.S. than ever before, but we're also throwing more food away. The amount of food Americans waste has been rising for decades, and that has serious environmental and economic consequences. We begin our food waste story at the end of the line, the landfill. You put it on the curb, it goes away, never to be seen again. Of course, it all goes somewhere. The good thing? It's taken away and you don't have to think about it or smell it again. The bad thing? If you don't have to think about it, you probably don't. But once you start digging into it, you find out what you throw away and where it goes does make a difference. There are those who do have your garbage on their minds. Jack Chappelle is one of them. He sorts garbage. States and cities hire Chappelle's consulting company to look through their trash and tell them what it's made of.
You want to know how long the landfill can last, what materials you can get out of it, what materials you can take out of the waste stream that makes the landfill last even longer.
Chappelle finds that a lot of what we throw away doesn't have to be. It could be recycled. Nationwide, more than 8 million tons of glass goes in the landfill, 24 million tons of cardboard and paper.
You still find an awful lot of bank statements and checks that people tear up, tin cans.
Then there's food.
In the country, you get more peelings, you get more vegetables. When you're in the city, you get a lot more fast food containers with half-eaten food in them, a lot more pizza boxes.
The Environmental Protection Agency estimates that nationally, about 20% of what goes into the landfill each year is food. Add all the food together from LA to New York, and America throws away nearly 35 million tons each year. 35 million tons. That's almost 100 Empire State Buildings made of food. Enough food goes uneaten in the United States in one day to feed the Denver metro area for 10 weeks. More than 2 million people could eat from New Year's to St. Patrick's Day.
We just have so much abundance of food that we don't realize the value of it.
Dan Nickey from the Iowa Waste Reduction Center works with businesses to cut back on what they throw away, including food. Nickey says waste happens at every level of the food chain.
You have food that is in warehouses that expires and they throw it away. Maybe they made a mistake and it doesn't have quite the flavoring they want. They don't want to sell it, so they throw it away. I think it's part of the culture today that compared to when our parents grew up, that, you know, now we don't look as food necessarily as a resource. We just look as a given.
From farmers to consumers, fruits and vegetables make up a third of the food loss in the U.S. Dairy products cover another 20% of what goes uneaten. When you look at the amount of food going unused, the costs add up, environmentally and financially. First, let's look at the money.
40% of all the food in this country never makes it to the table, at a cost of $165 billion.
And that's just in the U.S. Globally, food losses add up to $750 billion. Behind those dollar signs is a significant environmental threat when food is buried in a landfill.
You're going to have a generation of methane gas. Methane gas is a greenhouse gas, which is a contributor to global warming.